Very good morning to you all out there in the world. My name is Federico and this is Inspire Talk. Today we have another amazing guest. His name is Omar De Silva, and we are looking at the Aussie disruptors for January and unveiling the minds of 5 entrepreneurs that are disrupting the industry sector. And today's sector is education. And I'm really interested to pick Omar's brain and understand really what got him into education. So without saying too much more, I'd like to formally welcome Omar. How you doing, Omar?
Federico, I'm well. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the chat.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for your time on this morning. I know you've got a lot on, and I know you've also been through the tennis on the weekend in Australia. So I know the feeling of late nights and lots of adrenaline. So having said that, let's get straight into it, Omar. So I guess for the viewers, so that they get a nice picture of who you are, I'd like to sort of read out how you present yourself online with your professional profile. And what I read here is that you have a proven track record of venture development and investment through a variety of sectors, including education, property, and professional services. And most recently, Omar, you are focusing on education and the entrepreneurial ecosystem across Australia. And just recently, last year in 2016, you co-founded the Plato Project, and it's a new business school driven to foster entrepreneurship and business leadership that unlocks both commercial and social value. So obviously, you've got quite a lot on your hands at the moment, Omar. I really want to understand the fundamentals of the Plato Project, what drove you to focus on education. So I guess my first question is around that. Fundamentally, what got you into education from the very beginning? What inspired you to do that career?
Yeah, sure. I got into education by accident, to be honest. I didn't really enjoy my time at school from an education perspective. I enjoyed the social side of it. But really didn't feel challenged or fulfilled, and that meant that when I left school, I just had no intention of going to university. The dream for me was actually to become a professional golfer, and that's what I chased. I'm still accelerating through very quickly here, but when I decided that pursuit wasn't right either, I then decided to focus my time and energy into business and entrepreneurship. I had a lot of very early financial success, which led me to squandering all of that and getting myself into a gigantic hole and faced with a very real prospect of bankruptcy. Before I then went to Sri Lanka, I saw where my dad grew up and had a gigantic mindset shift, and realized that, I'd sort of been given everything I could possibly ask for to lead a great life in Australia, and I'd blown that. So I came back to Australia and got really focused again on building businesses and trying to dig myself out of a hole, doing a variety of different things. Again, accelerating through the years again. I then, a friend of mine who was teaching at RMIT, he got asked to set up Uber when it got to Melbourne for the first time. And of course, he wanted to take that opportunity on. But in order for him to do that, he needed somebody to take over his role teaching at RMIT University, and he asked me if I could help. I initially said no, because I was sort of so anti-education in the system, but thought I'd give it a go and be outside of my comfort zone. And so that's really how I fell into education. I started to enjoy education when I was teaching at RMIT because I took a very different approach to the course, and the DNA of the course I was teaching, which was really around entrepreneurship and innovation, had a very different approach to the traditional one. It was a blended model where students were expected to have done theoretical preparation before they got to class and then engage in a workshop type setting in class. So it was sort of half lecture, half workshop. And the approach that I took was opening up my laptop and talking to students about, the business day that I had had before I got there, or the business week I'd had in the previous week, or the week ahead. And that meant that we were sort of engaging with real concepts in the classroom. And that's really where I started to enjoy education and see what the potential for positive impact was.
Look, it's really interesting to hear your story, Omar, and what I'm hearing basically is a lot of what you've accomplished has been trial and error, I guess. It's also been your attitude of going against the grain of what's convention, what's standard. And we often hear about school dropouts, people leaving school early to start a venture to only become successful in the later years. And yes, Richard Branson kind of set that mold back in the 70s or whenever it was. So your story nowadays is becoming more popular, and it's great to hear young entrepreneurs like yourself getting out there and disrupting the world. You talk about anti-education and having a different approach. So I guess with regards to the Plato project, tell us a little bit more about what its mission and vision is and very much where it's going.
Yeah, sure. So we talk about the Plato Project as a new business school, and we don't mean new just in terms of how long we've been going, but we mean new in terms of our approach, new in terms of our philosophies, new in terms of our delivery mechanisms. For us, we think that the formal education sector, whilst it does an enormously net positive thing, the net results of the formal education system, is without a doubt positive. We think there's a lot of room for improvement, particularly in the business sector. So for us, we wanted to really positively disrupt that space and show that there was an alternative way to achieve great results. And look, we're not the only ones in this space. There are plenty of other players doing similar things now. But for us, we have a very strong focus on three key pillars, I suppose you'd call them, and in no particular order. This idea of purpose-driven business and the fact that people want to do stuff they believe in and that they care about. People don't want to just come in 9 to 5 and do something that they hate. They want to do something that engages them, that they find meaning and reward with. And they also want to do something that can foster social outcomes as well. I think we're seeing a huge paradigm shift away from capitalism for financial profit's sake, exclusive to everything else. And yes, people are really wanting to focus on trying to do good in the world and make some money along the way. And that's really what we're about, is helping people run great businesses that are very financially profitable, but also creating social good along the way. So that's one pillar, this idea of purpose-driven business. The other one is this idea of mindful leadership and mindfulness in the workspace. For us, that is absolutely not about meditating in the office, although that might be something that you do every now and again as a particular tactic. But this idea of mindful leadership is, okay, how do we be present? How do we be objective? How do we get the most out of ourselves and out of our teams every single day? How do we get the most out of our business every single day in what is a world which is fast-paced, as complex, as ever-changing, and the old leadership mechanisms of command and control, carrot and stick, it isn't sufficient any longer. So this new approach of mindful leadership and demonstrating self-awareness, authenticity, compassion, all of those things is critical. And then the third key pillar is this idea of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial spirit. Something that we really want to do is make people realize that entrepreneurship is not this magic thing that's reserved for an exclusive few. Entrepreneurship is something that everybody can develop their capabilities in. It's a mindset and it's an approach that everybody can really develop themselves in and apply on a day-to-day basis. And we really want to unlock that capability in employees as well as employers to create a better business and to create a better society around us. So that's really the core of the business. Sure. And from a program perspective, what we're talking about is one size doesn't fit all. They're putting people into a 12-month program and expecting them to do it exactly the same way and focus on exactly the same thing isn't the best way of going about it. So we offer what we call stackable education, where people can focus on things that are relevant to them and their goals at that particular time. And if they want to stack on additional units or additional programs as they go along, they can, but they can just jump in and jump out as it suits them achieving their career goals.
Really interesting, Omar. I'm really taking a lot of notes here about, what makes you different from all the other education institutions that are out there. And certainly there's a lot of disruption going on within your own business, and obviously within the education sector, you're very much going against the grain, as I can see. I love the fact that you've got a unique formula to success, or based on those three pillars, and the fact that it's a stackable or customized solution for the participants going through the course. I guess there are other players out there in the industry that are observing maybe what you're doing, or it's a very competitive space as we speak. Even you've said that before. So what are the challenges that you're facing at the moment with regards to starting this sort of venture in the education space, given that it's very saturated, and there are other leaders out there too?
Yeah, so education is really interesting. So over the last couple of years, the formal sector, in particular the vet sector, has undergone enormous challenge, where there are essentially a lot of cowboys out there that took advantage of what was a questionable policy and funding mechanism that the government introduced. And that's meant that there are a lot of people out there that got put into educational programs that was not the right thing for them by a long stretch, and to put it gently. And that's created a lot of skepticism around new entrants and new brands and new players in the education market, particularly in business education, because that was one of the most, I'll use the word, exploited sectors over the last couple of years. So that's absolutely a challenge. There is a natural predisposition to skepticism of new entrants into business education. So that's one thing. Another thing that we're constantly dealing with is the fact that Australia has for so long hung its hat on being a global leader in education, particularly in the formal sector. And with that comes formal qualifications as a university or as a registered training organisation. We are neither of those things, and quite purposefully, because by being one of those things comes bureaucracy and process and a lack of agility and a lack of ability to focus on students. So trying to demonstrate to people that, you know, there is still value in going about education through a private provider is absolutely another challenge. And then, of course, you have all of the usual challenges of startup business, you know, finding your feet, getting your brand out there, getting your product to market fit, ensuring you deliver value, growing fast enough, but not too quickly. So all of those standard things are, of course, there as well. And, you know, I think it's a great thing. But over the last few years as well, we've definitely seen the rise of the entrepreneur. We've definitely seen the rise of the startup. And we're also now starting to see the rise of the coach. And there are coaches left, right, and center. Some do better jobs than others, but again, it's more noise that we need to compete with and cut through to try and show our value to the market as well.
Totally, absolutely. Look, I can relate to your explanation of the rise of the entrepreneur. There are a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs out there that seem to pop up all over the place. I guess putting education aside for a moment, I guess I'm looking for the outcome of what you do. So in terms of the people who go through your course and then come out, what do you hope these people will do with their knowledge, with their entrepreneurial spirit, and how will that positively impact people's lives in Australia and even across the globe? So what is the outcome of your great system?
Yeah, good question. So our focus is on this idea of capability. And by capability, we mean the ability to continually do something over and over again, regardless of how long into the future that is. So we talk about capability as having the theoretical understanding of a concept, but most importantly, the practical ability to apply that theory within the real world. So one example is our Starting a Startup program. The program is really focused on each participant having the capability to start a startup. So that means that the startup that they work on in our program, if that happens to be not the best fit for them however long into the future, they still have that capability that they can do it again. In our Mindful Leadership program, once again, it's about the capability of being a mindful leader. Part of that is having self-awareness. Part of that is about continuous learning and continuous self-improvement, which means once they have that ability, it doesn't matter how the environment around them changes, the capability that they have will allow them to thrive, whatever that environment actually is. So for us, it's fundamentally about that capability development. Alongside that, to complete our programs, you must complete a project, and those projects are customized and tailored to each student to reflect a particular goal or context that is entirely relevant and important to them and their real world. So for example, we have people that are currently employed within big business that are trying to move into leadership positions. They need to demonstrate to their manager that they have the ability and the capability to act as leaders, and therefore they work on projects that can actually demonstrate that type of strategic thinking and leadership capabilities that their employers are looking for. So by completing those projects, there are very tangible outcomes. To answer the question of how does that then go on to positively impact people's lives in Australia and abroad, because we start from the inside out of this philosophy of purpose-driven business and the fact that social outcomes can very happily coexist with financial outcomes, everything that we do is fostering that approach and fostering that mindset. We don't believe in trading financial value off for social value, and we don't believe in trading social value off financial value. It's about having the right balance and doing good in both areas at the same time, because it's absolutely achievable. So the more people that come through our programs and the more people we can help to think this way and prove that this is the new way of doing business, the flow-on effects can be enormous. And that's what's so great about education, is that leverage opportunity that you have. You develop a capability and a mindset in one person. The flow-on effect is they can then go in and pass that on to another 10 people, so on and so forth. So that's actually really quite exciting for us.
Look, you've more than answered the question, Omar. That's really great. And what I've really picked up on, and what really resonates for me, even from my experience, is giving students the practical skills to be able to cope in the real world, as compared to traditional academia, where it's all about the piece of paper and not so much about dealing with the failures and the ups and the downs. So absolutely. I can see how you're building students up to the reality of what's going to happen when they do start their business. So thanks for that. Look, moving forward into, I guess, looking at your perspective on competition, as in how do you compete effectively within the industry? I have 3 options to present to you, and I want you to rate what you would regard as the most important for you and your business. Is between forming strategic partnerships, having sufficient venture capital, or being an influential leader, as in yourself. What of those 3 would be the most critical to have, and something you can't compromise?
Yeah, okay. So the easy answer, and I think I do believe the right answer is all 3, and I'll explain why, and then I'll narrow it down to 1 if that is helpful. Strategic partnerships allow new businesses and new brands to leapfrog in their growth cycle. You are able to speak to an audience which is already engaged through your strategic partner, and have that strategic partner sort of speak to that audience on your behalf, if you like, which comes with the implicit trust that their audience has already given to their brand. So it really accelerates growth very, very quickly. It accelerates awareness very, very quickly. And the thing that I love about effective strategic partnerships is it creates genuine shared value where both parties win. And I think that's a really, really important thing. People need to stop trading partner to get value by being able to offer their community value to something where one person gets into the form of less of genuine shared value. Critically important to any new business, in my opinion.
Sure, I know we're just having a few technical issues. Your signal's sort of flying out a bit, so hopefully it won't continue for too long.
That you do then due to the chance to earn a business. Also, check.
Keep going, Omar. I can still hear you. We've just had a few technical issues. The sound seems to be slowing down on your end, but that's okay. It seems to be okay now.
Okay, great. From a venture capital perspective, cash is the lifeblood of new business. If she can't keep the lights on and the doors, of course, can't pay a great team around you. So venture capital is absolutely critical. Really, without it, you can't do as much as what you can with it. That said, there are, of course, a whole bunch of very clever techniques that you can utilize to grow a new business without the venture capital. You just need to be realistic and pragmatic about the fact that it might take you that little bit longer, and you shouldn't set yourself up for failure by expecting to achieve the same amount in the same amount of time as another business that might have $1 million of venture capital. It doesn't mean you can't achieve success, but it is very important. In terms of being an influential leader, if you can't have a team of people around you building your business with you, it's very, very difficult to achieve success at a grand scale. That said, being an influential leader is it's very difficult, and it's something that you need to work at. You need to work hard at every day. But it's, of course, important because you need to inspire a team around you as well as a community around you to believe in your movement. So I really think all 3 are absolutely critical. If I had to pick one, I'm going to go with being an influential leader, because I think if you can be a great leader that believes in your offering, your product, whether that's a good or a service, you believe in your vision, you can create change simply by being a great leader. And with that change will come strategic.
Sure. Look, thanks for your insight there, Omar. Look, I've got most of what you've said in the last few minutes. We are having a few technical issues, but I've got the gist of what you've said, mainly with the strategic partnerships. Did cut out a bit with venture capital, but influential leader. I'm biased myself. I do believe that being an influential leader and being able to communicate is key. Just moving forward into sort of the next question, which focuses on personal talent, as well as having that right education. And I guess it'll be interesting to get your perspective, given that you come from the education sector, and also having the right connection. So between talent, having the right education, and having the right connections, what of those three would you again rate as the most important?
So I really do believe in the saying that hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. However, if you have talent and you work hard, then that's absolutely fantastic. In terms of education, the right education, I think, is probably the key word. Right, that is. Education is something that absolutely everybody should invest in forever. We're always learning. And when I say invest in that, that doesn't necessarily mean time. It doesn't necessarily mean money. It just means the time. You can get the right education by simply reading a blog every single day from a different person. You get the right education by simply talking to people on the street. The right education is about helping you achieve your goals. Doesn't necessarily mean university. And to me, the right connections means that people can help you get to where you need to get to. Again, critically important for your personal development, your personal evolution, and your professional development and business development. What's more important? I'm going to say talent. And the reason why I say talent is I'm going to put into that bucket of talent is self-awareness and passion and dedication. And if you have those things, then I think you can make those happen. If you don't have the self-awareness or the passion or the dedication or the natural predisposition to really want to push, I don't think you're going to get as much done. So that would be my answer.
Great response there. I really love the use of the word passion, and for me, passion is at the top of the food chain. If you have a car with an empty fuel tank, basically the car's not going to go anywhere. So I totally support your theory on that point. Just to wrap up, perhaps with another one or two questions, in terms of the future and what opportunities it presents to other aspiring entrepreneurs or serial entrepreneurs like yourself within the education sector, what do you envisage happening, say, in the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I think that the education sector will continue to see new entrants. And I think that those new entrants are really going to start focusing on particular niches. So you have a look at the likes of General Assembly. They are the absolute go-to when it comes to coding and data and web development and UX and that type of thing. They own that space, and that's where people go. We would like to think that we're going to become the go-to people when it comes to entrepreneurship and business leadership. I think more and more of these type of private, nimble, move at the pace of industry, private education providers will pop up in those specific niches. So Google's released a marketing course, a course has been released in partnership with Google in the marketing sector. I think that'll continue to go really well. And I think that's the trend that we'll keep seeing. So what that means for other aspiring entrepreneurs is if you have a passion for helping people be better, if you have a passion for helping others achieve success, and you have, I suppose, a natural predisposition to a particular niche that is valuable and important, there's absolute opportunity. Everybody wants to be doing things that they believe in and that they're passionate about now, which is what I talked about earlier. And in order for that to happen, people need to keep educating themselves. So I think there's only a lot of positive upside in the sector, particularly as Australia continues to put itself on the map as a really strong entrepreneurial player.
That's fantastic. Look, I really get excited when I hear the word entrepreneurship getting mentioned, and also leadership, and obviously being in that space myself. I am seeing, what's going on in Australia, and we are very much disrupting the market constantly, and it's like a big bubble that's about to burst, and who knows what's going to happen in years to come. So I guess just to wrap up, I know you've got other things to move on to. So if people wanted to get hold of you or in contact with you, what is the best way to understand what the Plato Project offers?
Yeah, sure. So, people can definitely visit the website, which is theplatoproject.com. Very happy for anybody to get in touch with me directly via email, which is Omar, O-M-A-R, at theplatoproject.com. Either one of those channels, you'll get through to me or the team, and we'll be in response very, very quickly. And yeah, we're obviously very happy to speak with anybody and everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, look, thanks again for your time and for your insights and your philosophies, I guess, to success, what disruption means to you. I'm here talking to Omer Da Silva, the founder of, or the co-founder of the Plato Project, and I'll be ending this conversation right now as we speak. So thanks again, Omer.
Federico, it was fantastic. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.